Welcome to my second edition of UFC Quick Picks with Evan. This week we've got UFC Fight Night London, Blaydes versus Aspinall. We will get right in with the first fight of the night. Nicolas Dalby takes on Claudio Silva. To start off the night, I'm going to go with a Nicolas Dalby win. I'm going to go with it by decision. To start off the night, we've got a welterweight matchup. Nicolas Dalby comes into this fight as a semi-heavy favorite. I think he's closing in on minus 300 at the moment. And I'm going to agree with that. I think Dalby holds the striking advantage over Silva. And he has the speed, he has the power, and that should be what controls the pace of the round. I think the only way that Silva can win this fight is probably by getting Dalby to the ground and getting him into a submission, kind of the Herbert Burns style against Bill Algeo, but hopefully for him, he doesn't gas like Burns did. But I believe in Dalby's takedown defense, and I think he should be able to keep him at range with his striking ability and probably get a decision win to start off the night. Next up, we have Mandy Bohm versus Victoria Leonardo. I'm going with Mandy Bohm. She's a slight favorite heading in this, probably about minus 140. This is a women's flyweight match. These two are looking to get their first win since entering the UFC. Bohm is 0-1 and Leonardo is 0-2. And I think this one should be a bigger I think Bohm should be a bigger favorite in this than she is. She holds a 6-inch reach advantage over Leonardo, which I think is probably going to be the key factor here. Kind of like Silva, I think the only way that Leonardo wins this is getting Bohm to the ground early. But she just isn't as much of a threat on the ground, I think, as Silva is. So I think Bohm can use her speed and use her reach. So when Leonardo comes in, she can evade, keep her at range with jabs and leg kicks, and hopefully use her counter striking to control the fight and pick up a decision win. In the third fight of the night, we've got Jai Herbert versus Kyle Nelson in the lightweight division. I'm going with Jai Herbert by knockout. I think this is a kind of a layup fight for Jai Herbert. He did not look awful against Ilia Topuria. He actually did rock him in that fight. So I think this should be a pretty easy win for him. He has superior striking by far to Kyle Nelson. He also has a 6-inch reach advantage like Mandy Bohm, so he can control it from the inside or from the outside. And when this fight gets more onto the inside, he has the power advantage, and that's when I think he's going to be able to put Nelson away with a knockout punch and get the win. This is a very interesting fight to me. One I'm actually pretty excited for. Muhammad Mokaev versus Charles Johnson. Mokaev is over a minus 500 favorite in this fight. I do think Mokaev is going to win, and I think he's going to win by submission. But I think Charles Johnson could make this an interesting fight. I think Charles Johnson is underrated coming in this by far. He looked very impressive in the LFA. But, Mokaev is very, very dangerous. Johnson comes into this UFC debut on a 4-fight win streak. He was, like I said, he was impressive in the LFA. And I think he's a better striker than Mokaev overall. Pretty good kicking game, but I think the difference maker in this will be Mokaev's just grappling advantage. I think once this fight hits the canvas, Mokaev is going to be able to dominate down there and probably get a submission win. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Johnson possibly take a round from Mokaev if the fight goes into the second or third round. I could see it taking Mokaev a little bit of time to feel out Johnson's striking and find that hole for the takedown and looking for the submission. I think Johnson could, outstrike him in the first round and get a round win like that. Next, we have Makwan Amirkhani versus Jonathan Pearce. This is one of my two upset picks for the night. I'm going with Makwan Amirkhani in this, also by submission. And the reason I went with Amirkhani, one of the main reasons is I really wasn't sure coming into this fight who was going to win. They're very evenly matched. I really hate the odds for Jonathan Pearce at over minus 230. I think this fight's pretty close overall. So my deciding factor here was I think Amirkhani has a better chance to finish this fight. So I'm going to go with the guy I think could get that, has that edge in the finishing department. I think we could see Pearce try and get Amirkhani to the ground and maybe leave his neck open, and that's when Amirkhani could grab hold of it and get a choke and take home a submission win. Next, Nathaniel Wood takes on Charles Rosa, and I believe Nathaniel Wood is the biggest favorite coming into this at almost minus 600. There are a lot of really big favorites on this. This is not probably a great betting card if you're betting favorites, unless you're confident in like 5 or 6 of them, because it's not really going to do much when it comes to money making. But I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood. I think he's a good fighter. I think Charles Rosa is dangerous. He has hurt people on the feet. We could see a fluke knockout win from Charles Rosa here. But I am going to go with Nathaniel Wood, especially in his home, with his home crowd of England behind him. Wood is a strong striker, so that's why I'm not going to say Charles Rosa wins this by knockout. I think Nathaniel Wood has enough striking knowledge to evade those and land his own shots, and I think he is better on the feet even than Rosa is. And if Rosa tries to get this to the ground, Wood is a submission threat. I'm not saying he's a top submission threat in the division, but he is a submission threat. But I just see Wood, this not being an overly exciting fight, but I think Wood kind of controls the pace and controls the fight and takes home a decision win. Next, in our second to last prelim, we've got Mark Diakiese versus Damir Hadzovic. Once again, and a minus 400 favorite here for Diakiese. I'm gonna go with him in this fight. Lightweight match here. They each won their last fight. But I'm going to go with the heavily favored English fighter here. He holds a 3-inch reach advantage over Hadzovic, and I think he's the better striker. I think that's pretty apparent coming into this. So if he stays on the outside and is able to piece apart Hadzovic, he can win this just by outstriking him for 3 rounds. But I actually think even if Hadzovic is able to land that takedown that he's probably going to shoot for, Mark is probably going to be able to either stuff it or win a grappling advantage down there. I think he's an underrated grappler, and I don't think there's really much of a path to victory here for Hadzovic, so I'm gonna lock in Diakiese. And in our final prelim of the night, we've got Ludovit Klein versus Mason Jones. I'm gonna go with Mason Jones as almost a minus 400 favorite again. The UFC knows what they're doing here. They've got a lot of favorite English fighters, and they're trying to make their money here, and I understand it. But this one, if we're going to see a big upset tonight, I think this could be the one. But I don't think it's going to happen, but it could. Ludovit Klein is a very good kicker, and if Jones becomes too aggressive, he could get caught with one of those high head kicks and get put out. But I don't see it happening. I think Mason Jones, because of his wrestling advantage, is going to win this fight. I think he'll be able to probably catch the kick or some version of that, be able to take Klein off his feet when he gets over aggressive and dominate the fight from the top wrestling position. Moving in to the main card, we've got Paul Craig versus Volkan Oezdemir. I love Paul Craig in this. He is my second underdog pick. He's coming in on a 4-fight win streak where he's looked pretty much unstoppable, honestly, especially once the fight gets to the ground. Volkan has undeniable power, and he could always knock out Paul Craig. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but I think Craig is probably going to be able to pull guard on Oezdemir, and my guess is that he gets a submission, and I think it'll be pretty early, either first or second round, but I'm going to go Paul Craig by submission and have him extend his winning streak to 5 and become a top contender in the light heavyweight division. A fight that probably the crowd is on the edge of their seat for. Molly Meatball McCann takes on Hannah Goldy. This is set up perfectly for Molly McCann to win. They want her to. She's great for the company. Molly McCann she's just better than Hannah Goldy. She's a better striker. She's a better wrestler. Really, no matter what Hannah Goldy's game plan is, McCann is going to be able to stop it. My guess is that Molly should try and take this fight to the ground because that's her bigger advantage here. She's just too strong, I think, for Goldy. She could really just kind of dominate her from top position. But I don't think she probably wants to do that, especially she's probably going to want to make this fight exciting for her fans. And I still even if she does that, I still think she's going to win because she is a good striker, and I think she'll be able to pick up the win in front of her home crowd. Next, we've got Nikita Krylov versus the UFC vet and former title contender Alexander Gustafsson. I'm going with Nikita Krylov. I grew up watching Alexander Gustafsson, and I loved him. I thought he was one of my favorites. Contended with John Jones. That fight was awesome. But I'm going to go with Krylov, and I think this is probably the last time we see Alexander Gustafsson inside of the octagon. Gustafsson has looked slow. He's out of his prime. And I think Krylov needs this bounce back win, and I think he's probably going to get it. My guess is that he's going to try and take this fight to the ground as quickly as possible, knowing Gustafsson's striking. And I think once it gets there, Gustafsson doesn't have the speed or strength to get back up from it. I wouldn't be surprised if Krylov puts him away with a submission. But I think he probably just uses his grappling advantage to maintain position and get a decision win to rebound from a 2-fight losing streak. Now, if you thought they were going to be excited for Molly McCann, you better be ready for Paddy the Baddy versus Jordan Leavitt, because there is probably no one more beloved in England, maybe other than the Queen, than Paddy Plmblett, because the way they go crazy for him is something else. And I think they're going to be able to do it again here. One of the things that really concerned me about this fight, and I brought it up on Strikes and Submissions, was Jordan Leavitt's real lack of a game plan. I think his game plan should be to wrestle, but even if it is, I think Paddy Plmblett's jiu-jitsu is probably going to be too much for him. I think he's just too fast, too strong, and I wouldn't be surprised if Plmblett was able to put him away with a submission. But I think the most likely thing here is Jordan Leavitt's lack of a game plan after he said that he was going to make it an exciting fight on the feet, try and strike with Paddy, and then he said he was going to make it a boring fight. He really doesn't know what he wants to do here. I think Paddy Plmblett is going to go out, and I think if Leavitt charges in, he's probably going to get caught with some crazy punch, unless Paddy Plmblett is good with taking this to the ground and getting a submission. But I think he's going to get knocked out, and I think it's probably going to be in the first round. I just think Paddy's going to shine brighter on this than Jordan Leavitt is. In the co-main event of the evening, we've got Jack Hermansson versus Chris Curtis. This one was, for me, the toughest fight by far. But I'm going to go with Chris Curtis, and I'm going to go with him by TKO. And I think it'll probably be in the third round if it happens by TKO. I think Curtis has looked very impressive since coming into the UFC. And I think that on the feet, he's going to have the advantage. And I think even if Hermansson's going to take him down, I believe he can get back up to his feet and probably connect on some good shots until Hermansson is tired and he's able to drop him with probably a right hook or like some power punch, drop him down, and finish the fight with ground strikes and get a third round TKO. And in the main event, Curtis Blaydes versus Tom Aspinall. My original pick for this fight was Curtis Blaydes, and then I went and watched some Tom Aspinall film and really changed my mind on it because I just think this is a terrible matchup for Curtis Blaydes. I think Curtis Blaydes, my favorite thing about Curtis Blaydes is that he takes advantage of his opponent's weaknesses. And with Tom Aspinall, there really aren't many. And I don't think he's going to be able to find that. I think if he tries to stand and strike with Aspinall, he's going to get knocked out pretty quick. So I think the best thing for him to do is to take him down and try and, use that pretty boring style of, maintaining position and, getting control time. But I don't think Aspinall is going to let that happen. I think Aspinall can get up against the fence, probably land some shots there, piece him apart, head, body, especially those body strikes are going to be a big point for Aspinall, I think, in this fight. And I think Aspinall, I'm going fourth round after Blaydes tires from those takedown attempts and from being hit by Aspinall. He's eventually going to get caught with something and get dropped. And the London crowd will be treated to Tom Aspinall taking home a win and probably getting matched up with Cyril Gane or Stipe Miocic in his next fight. So, yep, that will be it for UFC Fight Night London. Thank you for watching, and if you like these picks, lock them in for this weekend.